With Infinity War just around the corner, now is the perfect time to rewatch the entirety of the MCU and get caught up on the ins and outs of Earth's first and last line of defense against Thanos and his cronies. To tell the truth, the MCU is so vast, the perfect time to start catching up would have been weeks ago. But hey, better late than never, eh? For a written list that you can save and come back to, check the link in the description. I'm going to be listing all of the movies as well as the Marvel one-shot shorts based on their internal chronology, rather than the release schedule of the films. And in a follow-up video, we'll be tying in any important episodes or filling in any references from Agent Carter, Agents of SHIELD, and all those Netflix series. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. And just FYI, there will be spoilers for some of the Marvel movies, but since Black Panther is pretty much still brand new and Thor Ragnarok only just hit Blu-ray and DVD, I'm going to be so ever gentle when talking about those two in particular. So don't worry if you've got some catching up to do. Right, let's get into it. It makes sense that the first entry in our list is the first Avenger. Captain America does a lot to set up the MCU beyond that of featuring the Avengers poster boy and leader, because the movie also gives us a look at Peggy Carter and Howard Stark in their heyday of Nazi fighting or Hydra fighting in World War II. And of course the beginnings of the Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division, or SHIELD.
That's quite a mouthful.
I know, we're working on it.
Starting here also means you get to see the first Infinity Stone in the form of the Tesseract. Next up, we've got the Agent Carter one-shot. The Marvel one-shots were designed to be self-contained stories, a way for the studio to experiment with characters and expand the universe without committing to huge movie projects. The early Agent Carter storyline is nicely punctuated in this short found on the Iron Man 3 DVD. The response to this bonus feature actually led to the production of the Agent Carter TV series, but this badass short story alone does a great job in catching you up on the accomplishments of this founding member of SHIELD. We now jump a few decades into the modern day where we have an Iron Man Hulk sandwich, starting with the OG Iron Man and the start of Tony's redemption arc, followed by the Incredible Hulk and then Iron Man 2. The time frame of the Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2 has some overlap, as at the end of Iron Man 2, when Stark is hanging around with Nick Fury at S.H.I.E.L.D., discussing Black Widow's report on Stark's viability for the Avengers initiative, while on the background there's a TV displaying a report from Culver University that is using the cell phone footage these two students captured. No wonder Nick Fury was so testy in the scene, he was obviously quite busy that day. After that, if you have the Captain America First Avenger DVD on Blu-ray, I recommend watching the A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Thor's Hammer short. At the end of Iron Man 2, Agent Coulson is stuck down south in the desert digging up Thor's hammer, but what you don't see in the main movie is Coulson looking like a badass while buying donuts on his way up there. That gives us a nice smooth transition into the first Thor movie, with the God of Thunder banished from Asgard,
Father. Hey!
and misplacing Mjolnir in a dry-ass no-name desert, which also features a quick nod to the previous Incredible Hulk from Dr. Selvig.
I knew the scientist, the pioneer in gamma radiation.
You can tell this is obviously a reference to Bruce Banner or Betty Ross, depends who's on his LinkedIn. Then we get another one-shot feature, which is A-OK because they are awesome, and it's still set in the same dreary desert as Thor, with Agent Coulson and Agent Sitwell dealing with the abomination problem from the end of The Incredible Hulk. After the previous run of movies, the gang is finally all here. Well, at least after Hawkeye breaks free from his brainwashing, and then we can wrap up Marvel Phase 1 in a nice, neat bow as the Avengers have an awesome fight against Loki and the Chitauri. It's interesting to note that the staff that Loki uses in the movie was a gift from Thanos, and the Chitauri themselves are a subservient race under the Big Purple Titan too. After seeing their pitiful attempt at dominating Earth in the Avengers, it's no surprise he wants to get more hands-on by the time Infinity War rolls around. As you can imagine, all that fighting in the skies above New York is going to leave a bit of rubbish to clean up. This is where the next one-shot slots in. Item 47 shows what a determined person can do with salvaged Chitauri tech if they have the skills and inclination to make those mad laser cannons work. As we move into Phase 2 and Iron Man 3, we see some of the more intimate effects that the attack on New York City had with Tony Stark suffering from PTSD and trauma as a result of what he saw during the penultimate moments of the Avengers. But we are also introduced to the creation of Aldrich Killian and Extremis, a creation that we hear more about in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as it's refined into Centipede. And after that, we've got the next Marvel one-shot, All Hail the King, which can be found on the Thor The Dark World DVD and Blu-ray release. And this one-shot might just be the best thing about the release of that movie. It does some really interesting things with the Mandarin, a character that seemed to be wasted in Iron Man 3. So rather than spoil it for you, I'll just tell you to watch it and give you the next entry on our watch list.
And you'll never see me coming.
Now, Thor The Dark World might be one of the weakest movies in the MCU, but if you want to do the job right, you're still going to have to watch it. It does at least set up the second Infinity Stone in the form of the Ether, this red viscous fluid containing the Reality Stone, which is entrusted to the Collector, who, if you're an MCU fan, you'll know we'll get back to in a couple of movies' time. But from one of the weaker movies, we move to perhaps one of the strongest. Winter Soldier is a joy to watch. Set 2 years after the Battle of New York, Captain America is a fully fledged SHIELD agent, and the movie adds a bunch more depth to Black Widow and Captain's relationship. It also has some actual 10 out of 10 action scenes to boot. Winter Soldier also starts some big changes for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. What with Captain America basically dismantling the whole agency after the infiltration of Hydra, Black Widow leaking classified S.H.I.E.L.D. files, and leaving Coulson to rebuild the whole dang operation. The real hunt and redemption for the Winter Soldier starts at the end of the film, leading to the actions that ultimately result in the Marvel Civil War, as well as slyly introducing the Maximoff twins in the post-credit sequence that follows. After that, I much prefer the spacefaring double bill method of watching Guardians of the Galaxy. They fit together oh so nicely, and if you're binging the movies, it can be a little jarring going from the happy-go-lucky Guardians 1 to the somber Ultron, then back to a movie that features a tiny dancing tree. While Thor hinted at the cosmic side of the MCU, Guardians of the Galaxy jumps in fluffy raccoon tail first. The first movie introduces the new team, shows off more of Thanos, purpler than ever, and gives us the third Infinity Stone in the form of the Power Stone, which is contained within the movie's central MacGuffin, a metal orb that doesn't look like a silver round walnut at all. The second Guardians movie takes place only a couple of months after the first one, and mostly serves to expand on Star-Lord's origins and his newly ignited powers, the state of which hasn't yet been addressed after the finale of the film. Across 2 movies, we've got an Infinity Stone to play, the Guardians of the Galaxy team all together, and we know they're on their way to meet the God of Thunder, which we'll get to later. But first, Age of Ultron begins the fracturing of the Avengers as Stark plays with fire and creates the disturbed, distant cousin of Jarvis, Ultron. Age of Ultron may not be anyone's favourite MCU movie, but its gigantic action set piece, the city of Sokovia falling from the sky, injuring and killing innocent civilians, serves as a turning point for how our heroes are perceived. Not only is there a change in the public perception, but also a change in roster. With the help of Jarvis and the Mind Stone, we are now introduced to Vision. Thor buggers off to find more stones, and Hulk has a big muscular sulk and flies off in the Quinjet. But obviously, you're well aware that we'll see them all again soon. The events of Ant-Man take place shortly after Age of Ultron, which puts it next on our list. And it also has a crossover sequence where Scott Lang takes a visit to the new Avengers base and encounters Falcon. Another interesting connection is Hank Pym's flashback, showing his time as a S.H.I.E.L.D. consultant, and giving a little more screen time to the Howard Stark and Peggy Carter storyline from Captain America. After the events of Age of Ultron, our heroes are under scrutiny of the world, with the United Nations attempting to strong-arm the team into signing the Sokovia Accords, laws that would make the Avengers culpable and regulated. Obviously, this is a big change in how the Avengers has been run, and the team splits into 2 factions. Team Iron Man, who are for signing the Accords, and Team Cap, who are against, manipulated into the titular civil war by Helmut Zemo. All the characters we've learned to love over the past 8 years go head-to-head at an empty airport in Leipzig. The movie also sets up 2 more characters with the surprise appearance of Spider-Man and the new Black Panther, Prince T'Challa, seeking revenge against the Winter Soldier for the murder of his father. After the airport battle and Captain America and Iron Man's confrontation, Cap and Bucky end up in Wakanda, which is precisely where we go next. Okay, so Black Panther is still pretty new. I mean, it's still in cinemas at the time of this recording, and there's probably plenty of people out there that haven't seen it. So I won't say much except that it's awesome, and go and see it next and make sure you stay for the post-credit scene. Okay? We good? Cool.
Don't freeze.
I never freeze.
The first act of Doctor Strange actually takes place before the events of Civil War, with it all kicking off while this nerd is nose deep in books and scrolls. There are two major takeaways from this movie. The first is the introduction of the magical and mystical elements of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with Dr. Stephen Strange protecting the sanctums of Earth that guard us from the threats from other dimensions. The second is the Sorcerer Supreme not only owning, but being the only hero so far to effectively use an Infinity Stone in the form of the Eye of Agamotto. The Guardians of the Galaxy managed to use theirs in a pinch that almost killed them, but Strange was able to use his to reliably annoy an other-dimensional being into submission.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Next up is Spider-Man Homecoming, which is rooted in the aftermath of the Avengers and Civil War. We see the Vulture rising up the criminal underworld by utilizing the leftover scraps of tech from the Chitauri attack on New York, and we also get more context through Spider-Man's job interview with Stark, which involved stealing Captain America's shield and web-slinging around a giant Ant-Man. Scenes that we obviously saw in Civil War. Last on our list, which is lucky because it's the most recent movie to hit Blu-ray and DVD, is Thor Ragnarok. It continues the trend of esoteric spacefaring Marvel movies, but takes Thor in another lighter direction, as well as creating connections back to Doctor Strange on Earth, and also bringing the Incredible Hulk back into the fray. So that's our recommended viewing order of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And you know, it's only 38 hours and 15 minutes worth of movies to watch. Maybe a little bit extra for the trailers before Black Panther. But that's more than doable before Infinity War hits big screens on April 27th. If you agree with our viewing order, then let me know in the comments. If you don't, I mean, you can let me know too, but you know, we used actual science and research to create it, so... Anyway, we're going to have tons more Marvel and Infinity War coverage for you on the lead up to the movie, as well as covering the crap out of it once it's released. So obviously, for everything Marvel related, you need to make sure you stay tuned to GameSpot Universe.